This episode will be completely taken out of context. Welcome to the Fact Check This podcast.
I'll start last to first. I think this is a moment where we are seeing our presidential administration tear apart the transatlantic partnership, rip up every democratic norm, and really calling into question, as was mentioned by Dave Carney at the World Economic Forum, the rules-based order that we have, or question mark, do we have? And so I think one of the reasons why, not just myself, but many of our colleagues here, in fact, many Democrats that are here as well, is because we want to tell a larger story, that what is happening is indeed very grave. And we are in a new era, domestically and globally. There have been many leaders who've said we will go back. And I think we have to recognize that we are in a new day and in a new time. But that does not mean that the majority of Americans are ready to walk away from a rules-based order and that we're ready to walk away from our commitment to democracy. I think what we identify is that in a rules-based order, hypocrisy is vulnerability. And so I think what we are seeking is a return to a rules-based order that eliminates the hypocrisies around when too often in the West we look the other way for inconvenient populations to act out these paradoxes, whether it is, kidnapping a foreign head of state, whether it is threatening our allies to colonize Greenland, whether it is looking the other way in a genocide. Hypocrisies are vulnerabilities, and they threaten democracies globally. And so I think many of us are here to say, we are here and we are ready for the next chapter.
Gobbledygook word salad. Buzzword, buzzword, buzzword. Platitudes and nonsense. That's actually one of her more coherent of recent appearances. She jet sets halfway across the world to go talk about all of this dumb bullshit and proceeds to spend pretty much the entire time making herself seem like a complete and total moron. Now, I always thought, it was funny to make fun of AOC and how dumb she is, but I never really listened to her talk. And honestly, when she's talked in the past, I assumed that it was probably like DNC talking points. They weren't letting her talk, right? Of late, she's had an opportunity to actually talk. And I think they're trying to gear up for a potential. I don't think they'll run her as president in 2028. I don't think she would be the presidential nominee, but I think they might be seriously consider putting her on the ballot for vice president because this is what the Democrats want. You need to check all the boxes. Young, female, minority. Retarded also helps, apparently, since the last two vice presidential candidates that they've run were also retarded. That'd be Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Feel free to drive by Tim Walz's house and yell retard at him until he leaves office. Do it every day, at least every week, if you live in that area. In the meantime, so I think they're trying to gear her up for running her on the vice presidential ticket in 2028. And the problem that they're running into is the same problem that they had with Kamala Harris. The more people get the opportunity to see her, the more opportunity they give her to talk, the more people realize she's actually completely and totally fucking retarded. She is ignorant as all fucking get out. She doesn't know what she's saying. She doesn't know what she's talking about. This was another one from that same like roundtable interview discussion.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is of course a very longstanding policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point. And we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
What? Like fucking what? This is what people saw when Kamala Harris was allowed to finally start doing interviews. They saw just how vapid and brain dead she was. And the same is happening with AOC. The more they're allowing her to go and speak and have an opportunity to put herself on display, thinking that like she's going to just crush, right? She's going to crush it. She's going to hit all the talking points and it's going to be great. Except that she's not. She mumbles, stumbles, fumbles, and stutters her way through. She doesn't know what the talking points are. She knows buzzwords and general bullshit. And she can't make it through a coherent. So she does the roundabout, talking herself in circles without ever saying anything. Kamala Harris is like the absolute queen of it. But AOC is probably top 5 anyway. Nancy Pelosi used to be pretty good at it. I think her age and the alcohol have cooked her brain to the point that she's not as good at it anymore. But I would still put her in top 5. Oh God, what was the Biden's press secretary? Not Karine Jean-Pierre, but the one before her, the soulless ginger. She masterclass, like number 2, right behind Kamala, and possibly number 1, given and depending on the day. But like AOC's up there with being able to spin and turn and not say anything. But as they've given her more leash to go out and do this stuff, she's showing herself to be less competent than what she had previously appeared to be when being held in, relatively safe domestic settings where, they control the media here, where she's not going to get asked questions that are going to stump her. And these questions shouldn't stump her, but she doesn't have anything intelligent to say. And like, then she doubles down on just absolute fucking retardation when she's trying to roast right-wingers and completely gets like everything wrong.
Rubio's speech was a pure appeal to Western culture. My favorite part was when he said that American cowboys came from Spain.
I thought they came from Winnetou, but
I believe the Mexicans and descendants of African enslaved peoples would like to have a word on that.
Where does she think the Mexicans came from? Like, I don't even think this is a failure of like modern education. I think this is just a straight up failure of her own. Like, cowboys originated in Spain. The cowboy like lifestyle in that way and everything was something that they brought over here, and then it became a part of Western culture and kind of became its own subset. But that is the origins of it, is in Spain. Like, the Mexicans would like to have a word. Where do you think they came from? the Africans would like to have a word. They, at no point in like all of the history of Africa did they ever bother to domesticate animals. What would they have cowboys for? Like, what the fuck is she talking about? But that's not the most egregious. I think this one might actually take the cake.
You know, we look at what happened in Venezuela, for example. It is not a it is not a remark on who Maduro was as a leader. He canceled elections. He was an anti-democratic leader. That doesn't mean that we can kidnap a head of state and engage in acts of war just because the nation is below the equator. And and by the way,
as they all applaud, because literally none of them know where Venezuela is either. They couldn't point it out on a map. They have no fucking clue. That's the craziest, most hilarious thing. Now, granted, you start getting into like Argentina and some of the other, like, pull the video back up. You start getting into some of these countries down in here. Like, yeah, I'm not sure which ones are which exactly, but like by and large, I know what's going on with all of South America. I definitely knew where Venezuela was. Like that wasn't one that was like a shocker. Even if you're just, maybe she just meant in South America, not south of the equator. She obviously should have known where the equator is, but she just meant a foreign country in South America. Okay, and that's again still completely divorced from the reality of what's been going on in Venezuela for the last 40 years. There's a lot that's gone on with oil, U.S. interests, everything else. Like buzzwords, political points, like talking points. That's it. That's all she's got. It's the same as fucking Kamala Harris. Like Jen Psaki, that's the chick's name. Jen Psaki would make for a better political candidate for the left than Jasmine Crockett, AOC, Kamala Harris, any of the squad. Like Psaki is sharp and knows what the fuck she's talking about, while also being able to spin and turn and hit all the talking points. All the rest of these like congresswomen, they are vapid morons. Personally, I want them to have all the airtime they can get. I want to see more of them. I want them on CNN and ABC and MSNBC. I want you to put them on CNN with Scott Jennings, so Scott Jennings can absolutely just roast them over an open fire. That would be fucking hilarious. I want them to be given any and every opportunity to talk freely as much as they want, because the more rope you give them, the more quickly they're going to hang themselves, and it's going to be fucking hilarious. And I'm here for the lulz, if nothing else. Speaking of the lulz, I don't know if it'll necessarily be funny, but it will be a fun conversation. Me and Forte are going to do the Lord of the Rings talk tonight at 7:30 Central. So be sure to tune in for that. We'll be covering why does the right wing love the Lord of the Rings so much? Why is the right wing so obsessed with Lord of the Rings? And why Vox thinks they actually get it wrong, while Vox instead manages to completely get every single last fucking bit of it wrong. I've read like multiple analyses from the left of the Lord of the Rings and why the right gets the Lord of the Rings wrong, and every single talking point that they make is literally the absolute ass backwards complete opposite of what what J.R.R. Tolkien has like expressly said he was doing with his world and with the stories and everything else. like there were like recorded conversations between Tolkien and C.S. Lewis and others in their like little writing sphere, discussing their works and stuff. And like Tolkien was pretty open about what he created with that universe, and somehow the left just like twisted into their own narrative about whatever whatever their current talking point is, and completely misses everything. And then they say that the right, it's like their hatred of Orson Scott Card, just because he is a conservative Christian type of a dude, or their hatred of Heinlein's Starship Troopers because it's like fascism, except that the only reason they really hate Heinlein is because he points out all of the failures of leftist society like 50 years before they came to fruition. Like he was very good at predicting what the future would look like and how leftist ideology would just completely ruin shit. It's like that's why they hate him. It's fucking hilarious. So anyway, that's why they can't hate Tolkien. So they have to try to twist it to their own narrative, and then they just completely fail miserably at every fucking turn. So anyway, Forte and I will be talking about that tonight at 7:30 Central. Tune in for that. In the meantime, and then that will be the Thursday episode. I won't do a live Thursday show this week unless I find something that really, really catches my interest and I want to put out like another shorty like this, which I might. I do have an interesting article that's kind of short and not really full episode worthy. So I might do that on Thursday. We'll see. So Thursday's TBD, but definitely tonight, me, Forte, Lord of the Rings. Let's do it. See you then, hopefully. Later.